Hello, I'm St-Pierre, and you're listening to Go Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about options where you can host your Go application. Hello, Gophers. We are back. It's been a couple of weeks yet again. It's getting difficult to be regular in producing the podcast episode for me. I'm currently doing a lot of consulting and whatnot, and I don't know if it's the time of the year. November or end of October. November is always difficult in here in the north. There's less sun and whatnot. Maybe I'm just getting old. Whatever the reason, it's just difficult these days. And I guess we are getting older, at least me, and starting to feeling it. When I was young, I was building probably two SaaS at the same time while working a full-time job and whatnot, and it was different, if I can say that. So what are we going to talk about today? Let's have a quick episode on option on where you may want to deploy your Go web application, for example. So I think it could be a quick one, and I've been using a couple of options in the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatnot, and I think it's not something we are hearing a lot in the same episode. The first option we will talk about is having your own server. So let's say you take a VM from DigitalOcean or Linode or whatever, AWS or things like that, and you manage your entire server yourself. So what it means is you will be responsible to patch it. You will be responsible to have your SSL termination and also, if you want a reverse proxy or things like that. If you want to host multiple domains and subdomains, so you will do it all. This is a great way to learn how things are done under the cover, if you will. And for a long time, it was how I was deploying my my services. It's still probably my favorite thing, because I kind of prefer to have some kind of control sometimes. But we will see later. I also really like platform as a service. So it depends. It really depends. But this is a great and cheap option, especially when you're not really sure about the impact of what you are launching. Is it going? Is it a side project? Is it something that will bring you some revenue out of the box already, or is just you're not sure. So sometimes having your VM, you can just have a dirt cheap $5 per month, $6 per month, whatever, and have the apps in there. You might want to have your database at first on the same server. It's not it's not ideal, but let's be realistic and honest here. The data that you will need a dedicated database is probably not your first 6 months or your first year, whatever. Depending, if you are doing that for an enterprise that already have clients and things like that, probably not the right solution. But an infrastructure as a service is sometimes a good way to learn how things are done. All servers are connected together. Are you going to need caching? Then okay, you will probably want a dedicated Redis server or a Memcache or whatever, RabbitMQ. So depending what things you will want to opt in for your app, you can you can have control over that, and you basically just put a reverse proxy in front of your Go binary, and it's it's very, very quick to do. I've I always use Nginx myself, so Nginx for me is simple and it just works. I used Caddy as well, which is built in Go, a couple of times, and it's nice. It's handling HTTPS automatically. It kind of handle the let's encrypt flow and things like that. So yeah, the configuration with Caddy is okay. I mean, it's fine. It's a good solution. It's just that when you are used to Nginx, then it's almost the same time, and I'll be curious to do some benchmark. Nginx is written in C, if I'm not mistaken, and but they should be probably extremely close. That's not the point. The point is, since the embed feature of Go, now you can truly have a single binary that just get bundled up and pushed to your server, and now you are putting your reverse proxy in front of that with your HTTPS termination, and boom, you are up and running. And in terms of deployment, well, it's kind of possible to do a blue-green deployment, or at least adding some code in your Go server to make sure that it waits for all the connection to be terminated before exiting. It will add a couple of line of codes that you will need to write, but it's still an option. So when you are deploying, you basically stop the service, because let's be real, if you are going to handle your server yourself, you will need some kind of services. You will need to demonize your Go server, and usually, most Linux distribution use systemd, so you will be ending up creating a systemd unit file. So the deployment is fairly straightforward. You basically copy or SCP the binary in your server. You move it over the running process, and you restart the process. So you have to move it, because you cannot copy a file over a currently executing binary in Linux. So that way you probably don't really have any downtime, because if you are handling all the connection and are not taking new one, by the time that the service is up, Nginx should have probably handled some kind of small queuing mechanism to make sure that the HTTP requests that were not served are being served. So all of this to say that there is some way for you to achieve some kind of high availability, especially if you are, you can still have a load balancer in front of your servers at some point when you want to have more traffic and whatnot. So it's just a way for you to start simple, and probably if you want to have your hands dirty a little bit by managing your server, if it's something that sounds interesting, it's a great way to learn some basics stuff. The next level from here would be platform as a service. So all those things like Heroku, DigitalOcean app platform, Render, for example. So those things are usually plugging themselves to your source repository. Let's say you have a Git repo. So once you push to your main branch, for example, they will be responsible for grabbing the code, building your application. starting probably a new instance of that new thing and slowly terminating the old one. It's very easy to scale. Um, so I decided to do this episode because of Iriku just announced that they are stopping their free services, their free plan basically. So I wanted to to talk about that because Iriku is very nice. I've been deploying to render a lot, since the last 3 years, and it's very funny. I always say the same thing when I talk about render. So to me, when I heard about render, it was really a long time ago, and to me it sounded like front end stuff. In my mind, render was something that would do server-side rendering for a JavaScript application or whatnot. I mean, I never look at them. I never even opened their website. It just by the name, it was disqualified automatically for me, and I was so wrong, because just like Fly.io is another option, but those two are well. I can speak for render. I haven't used Fly, but render is it's really simple, and you don't have a free plan, because if you are going to need a database, their database is not free. But there is a you can host your marketing site if you are using a static site generator. This is free. I think you have web services, which is just a way to host your Go server. I think those are free. A little bit like Heroku. I'm not sure about the pricing. It's not the point. So these kind of offering or platform are way more easier than managing your server for sure. You basically it's plugged in with your flow. So as soon as you push, it's it's a new deployment for you. So they are handling stopping, restarting. They are handling a way for them to show you the output of your program, so you can see logs of your application from the dashboard and whatnot. You can have environment variables set very easily. So it's all of those things. If you are managing your server, you need to decide how and where you are going to do that. So there is a lots of decisions that are taken for you. So, and it's very, very quick. So you can compare to provisioning your server, having your SSH key on that, and setting up the database, Nginx and whatnot. So it's very, very quick to get up and running, and for not much more, in fact, because if I'm not mistaken, I would say in render for I don't know, sorry, I'm that was in French, for $7 or $10 per month, you can have a Postgres database with your Go server. They have a free tier as well for a Redis server. I encourage you to look at them. I'm very fan, to be honest, and I'm not paid anything to say that. It's genuine. I discovered them, and I'm so happy. So it's very, very easy to deploy Go. And one thing that I like about them is when they connect to your GitHub repository, they are smart enough to understand what is going on there. Oh, you have a Go application, then boom, they are presetting all the things that you will need for you to build your app. So if you have a CMD folder with the main.go there, then you just need to indicate where is your entry point, basically. And if you have an Elixir app, if you have a Node app, whatever, they are discovering that, and it's very nice. It's the same for their their static site hosting, if you will. So I use Hugo, which is a Go static site generator, and they discovered that automatically, and they just pre-configure anything. I just love them. I think it's we can say that I'm a fan, but they just do so many things right that that even though I really like to handle my server, sometimes it's just relaxing to click on the cruise control button and let them handle the infrastructure. Also, the scaling is just easy. So lots of people were using a Roku free plan, and they are discontinuing that. I know that they are offering they retracted because of all the noise that went on Twitter probably and whatnot. But they 1 month later they said that they will have a very cheap $3, $4, I don't know, per month option. So Roku is still very good-ish. But yeah, I encourage you to look at Render. And I'm hearing a lot of good thing about Fly.io. So render.com or Fly.io. I don't know Fly, but yeah, those two are very good choice, I think. Let's go one level up yet, and we will reach. We are reaching our last thing, which is serverless. I don't like this term. It's not. Let's call it function as a service more. I built a SaaS in 2019, if I recall correctly, that was entirely built on function as a service. I wanted to try that. I wanted to discover, okay, what is going on in here. Well, the SaaS was not a commercial success, by the way. So, but still, it was built on that, and it was on GCP with data store and whatnot. So yeah, what I can, myself personally, for solo project, I still prefer to build, and I will say another word I don't really like, but I still prefer to build a monolith kind of application. Let's call it a single binary, right? Because even if you are building a monolith, you will still have, separated services and whatnot. I mean, but yeah, let's compare one binary versus having to deploy each function individually. So it was a tiny application. To be completely frank, I'm not sure how a bigger application, bigger than my SaaS, gets maintainable after 5 years, 10 years. And we will see that, because I don't believe that function as a service is older than 5 years or 6, whatever. But to me, the maintainability of the code seems to be a huge problem, even for bigger organization. I don't know, deploying one function at a time. So in my make file, I was having one entry for each function. There is tooling around that, but yeah. So yeah, let's back up a little bit in here. I want to say too many things at the same time. So for me, the downside of function as a service is the learning curve. Is that, yes, you will have tools to learn, you will have documentation to read, you will have to shape your code in the way that the platforms wants you to form it. You will receive specific things, and not the necessarily what you want to expect from a request response standard library Go style, things like that. So those are compromises that needs to be made. for the benefits of having no server, or really, I think the biggest thing here is if you don't have traffic, you don't pay for anything, and if suddenly you have a immense surge of traffic, then it will automatically scale for you. It's not for me. It's just not for me. I don't think that smaller company, and especially single founder that are building a SaaS, for example, I don't believe that the time investment to read and learn is beneficial for the kind of benefits that you are getting, which let's be realistic, is better for bigger organizations. So scaling in the millions of requests per second is not something that smaller company have to deal with. So yeah, it's really I don't know. It's sexy to not have to pay anything, and it's sexy when AWS say something like, "Oh well, you will have 1 million call free per month and whatnot." So it's not that. The problem is really the code that you will end up doing is might not be easy to maintain, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong here. I don't really have a huge experience. I'm just saying that from the single application that I built, which was using function as a service, I was not really seeing that evolve from there, and it was not worth it, the amount of things that. So yeah, I think the middle ground, platform as a service, is still very very appealing for smaller companies, even enterprise, in my opinion. And going down one step further for bigger organization, people wants to have control, people wants to manage their infrastructure and whatnot. So yes, I would also include Kubernetes in here, since it's doing so many things. So again, the learning curve is still there, and yes, at least you can deploy a more monolithic way an application, but yeah, I would still have that here. So yeah, the learning curve is steep a little bit, not that much. I hate the documentation on AWS. I don't know if it's just me. I cannot. I'm having difficulties finding what I want. When I find something, I start reading it, and it's not clear. So, but yes, I recognize that API gateway at AWS is starting to be very interesting for lots of people, because since they are now handling WebSocket as well. So that, that's something. Scaling WebSocket is difficult. That is a true fact. And now, from what I understood, or what I can understand at least, they are able to maintain an open connection, and when data is coming in from the client, then they are calling a function as a service. This model seems to be very interesting on paper. I haven't used it, and when you want to broadcast something, then you can do that. Again, the issue I'm having with that is the learning curve that you will need to do, because now the function that gets called has some event parameter that you will need to read about. You need to, how are you doing a broadcast and things like that. If you compare to, and now I will leave a little bit go, because to me, Elixir would be my choice. If I were to build a WebSocket AV application, I would go with Elixir, hands down. So, sending and receiving data, broadcasting data with Elixir, it's just built in simple. It will scale because of the distributed way of Elixir and things like that. So I'm, it's an option, and yes, I think I would be curious to see the pricing of that thing as well. So pricing is another thing that can bite at some point. Not when you have, like, I don't know, 1,000 users, but at some point those pricing will kick in, and I'm curious, because you are hearing a lot of things. We are hearing a lot of things about companies that suddenly gets a 10,000 bill from AWS suddenly, boom. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just not interested myself in using that versus using something easier, in my opinion, like Elixir. Even Go. Even Go, it would be good for a WebSocket AV application. It's just that you are going to write a lots of code versus Elixir, for example. Yeah, I think that's it. It was supposed to be a quick episode. All right, bye. All right, that's it for this week. I hope you liked the episode. And again, if you can share and talk about the podcast, that would be extremely appreciated. Also, if you want to check my book out, I have a course named Build SaaS App in Go. So it's at buildsaasAppinGo.com. All right, see you in 2 weeks. Bye.